Welcome to Clear Enough, where we explore how to begin, be heard, and break free, even without knowing everything. I'm Drew, and I believe you don't need all the answers to start. You just need to be clear enough to take the next right step. Welcome back, friends, to Clear Enough. I'm glad you're here. Today we're diving into a topic that hits hard every January, and maybe even harder every February when the dust settles and the resolutions are already starting to fade. We all know the story. New year, new me. You sign up for the gym, you eat salads for 2 weeks, you swear you'll never drink soda again. By Valentine's Day, the gym bag's in the trunk, the soda's back in the fridge, and you're wondering, what happened this time? Here's the truth. Resolutions usually fail, but intentional living, that can last. And today I want to break down why resolutions don't work, what happens when we chase them anyway, and how we can do something better, something sustainable, practical, and meaningful. So let's start with the obvious question. How many times have you set a resolution and abandoned it? If you're like me, and pretty much everyone I know, the answer is almost every time. Why? Because resolutions are often just wishes dressed up as goals. Think about the way we usually phrase them. This year I'll get healthy, or this year I'll save more money, or this year I'll finally get organized. Those aren't plans. Those are just vague hopes. There's no structure, no accountability, no realistic path. And when we inevitably stumble, because we all do, we treat it like failure. We give up. We feel guilty, and we reinforce the cycle. The problem isn't that we don't care enough. The problem is that resolutions are too big, too vague, and too absolute. Let's talk about gyms in January. Every year, people flood into gyms the first week of January. Longtime members complain about how crowded it is. New people try to push through the soreness and the awkwardness of not knowing how to use the equipment. And then, by mid-February, the place is back to normal. Why? Because the resolution wasn't realistic. It was fueled by hype, not habit. I'm going to work out every day. Sounds inspiring. But the first time you get sick or miss a day because your kids or your job, it feels like the whole resolution is broken. And when the resolution breaks, we don't adapt, we abandon it. And that's why I always say, a resolution without a plan is just a wish. Let me give you a personal example. For years, I made the same resolutions everyone else made. Exercise more, eat healthier, save money, read more books. And every year, I'd crash and burn. But a few years ago, I shifted to something different. Instead of setting yearly resolutions, I started setting 13-week goal calendars. Why 13 weeks? Because a year is too long to hold in your head. It's overwhelming. But 13 weeks, that's just a quarter. That's short enough to feel tangible and long enough to make real progress. I break the year into 4 13-week blocks. Each week, I set around 7 goals across different areas: professional, personal, health, family, spiritual, financial, and learning. Then I break those quarterly goals into weekly actions. It's not perfect, but it works so much better than vague resolutions. Because now I have a structure. I know what I'm aiming for each week. And when I miss something, I don't quit. I adjust. Here's another reason why resolutions fail. They're overwhelming. We set goals that are too big, too abstract, too far in the future. We imagine the person we want to be a year from now, and then try to leap straight there in one move. But real change doesn't happen overnight. It happens incrementally. Saying I'll never eat sugar again isn't realistic if you've been eating dessert every night for the last 10 years. Saying I'll read 100 books this year isn't realistic if you barely read one last year. We fail because we set ourselves up to fail. And then we confuse failure with proof that we're not capable. But it's not proof of that at all. It's proof that the framework is broken. So what's the alternative? It's intentional choices. Resolutions are about outcome. I want to be healthy. Intentional choices are about identity. I'm the kind of person who prioritizes my health. Resolutions are about absolutes. I'll never miss a workout. Intentional choices are about direction. I'll aim for 3 workouts a week, and if I miss one, I'll keep going. Resolutions are about perfection. Intentional choices are about progress. That's the shift that matters. When you decide to live intentionally, you stop fighting for some imaginary, perfect version of yourself and start becoming the kind of person who makes consistent, aligned choices. Here's how it played out for me. Instead of saying I'll exercise every day this year, I started with, I want to be the kind of person who takes care of my body. That small shift changed everything. Because now, when I miss a day, I don't panic. I don't feel like the whole resolution is ruined. I just say, okay, that wasn't aligned today. Tomorrow I'll make a better choice. It gave me grace. It gave me flexibility. And it made me way more consistent over time. The same thing works with reading. I used to set resolutions like, I'll read 50 books this year. Now I just say, I want to be the kind of person who reads every day. Some years that means I read 15 books. Some years it's 40. But either way, I'm living intentionally instead of chasing an arbitrary number. Let's pause and talk about the cost of waiting. When we set vague resolutions and then freeze up because they feel too big, we drift. We put off the changes we don't want to make. And every day we wait is a day we don't get back. The cost of waiting shows up as regret, looking back and realizing you could have started months ago. Lost opportunities, the job you didn't apply for, the class you didn't take, the conversation you didn't have. Drift, moving farther from your values because you didn't act, or self-sabotaging, avoiding the hard things because you're afraid of failing at it. I know this one personally. For years, I held myself back from trying my hardest because I was afraid of what it would mean if I gave everything I had and still failed. That's self-sabotage, and it cost me years of growth I could have had sooner. Here's another thing we don't talk about enough: the external pressure of January. Social media, commercials, even conversations at work, they all scream, "What's your resolution? How are you changing this year?" It's hype, and hype burns out. If the only reason you're chasing a goal is because it's January and everyone else is doing it, it won't last, because the motivation isn't coming from within you. True, lasting change has to come from your own values, your own vision for your life. Otherwise, you're just trying to copy someone else's dream. Let's pause here for a moment. If you're listening right now, I want you to think of one resolution you've set in the past that didn't stick. Maybe it was fitness, money, relationships, learning, whatever it was. Ask yourself, was that resolution really rooted in my values? Was it really about who I wanted to become? Or was it something I thought I should do because it sounded good or everyone else is doing it? Write it down, or if you're driving, just say it out loud. Get it out of your head, because naming it is the first step toward moving past it. The good news is, you don't need to rely on hype. You just need a framework that makes sense. For me, it's the 13-week calendar. For you, it might be something else. The specific framework isn't the point. The point is that you need something to structure your intentions, because without structure, intentions drift. With structure, they compound. And that's where the magic happens. Not in one big resolution, but in small, intentional choices repeated over time. One of the biggest traps of resolutions is the way we frame them in absolutes. I work out every day. I'll never eat sugar again. I'll write 1,000 words a day without missing. The problem with absolutes is that they don't leave any room for being a human. Because here's the reality. Life happens. Kids get sick. Work deadlines explode. Cars break down. You wake up with the flu. And the second you break the resolution, your brain says, well, I ruined it. Might as well give up completely. That's the all or nothing trap. Intentional living avoids that by building in flexibility. Instead of saying, I'll never miss a workout, you say, I'll be the kind of person who prioritizes health. That way, one missed day doesn't equal failure. It just means you keep going tomorrow. Let me tell you about someone I knew in law school. This person was brilliant. They had the grades, the resume, the drive, but their goals? They weren't their own. They were killing themselves trying to land a big corporate job. One of those 6-figure, high-prestige jobs everyone said you were supposed to want. But if you asked him, hey, do you actually want to work 80 hours a week for a firm you don't care about? The honest answer was no. He wanted family time. He wanted balance. He wanted meaningful work. But he was stuck chasing someone else's dream because that's what the system told him he should want. And I watched him burnt out. I watched him sacrifice his mental health, his relationships, and his sense of identity for a goal that didn't even belong to him. That's what happens when we set resolutions or goals without anchoring them to our values. We drift into someone else's definition of success. And even if we reach it, it doesn't feel like success at all. So here's a key distinction. Resolutions often come from should. I should exercise more. I should save money. I should spend more time with my kids. Should is the enemy of joy. Intentional choices, on the other hand, come from want. I want to feel strong enough to play with my kids. I want to save money so I can take my family on a trip. I want to be present with my kids because that's the kind of dad I want to be. See the difference? Should is about obligation. Want is about identity. Should drains your energy. Want fuels it. Let me go deeper into the framework that works for me because I think it can help you too. Like I said earlier, I use 13-week blocks, essentially quarterly planning. Here's how it looks in practice. First, I pick 6 or 7 categories. For me, it's professional, family, health, spiritual, financial, learning, and personal projects. Next, set 1 to 2 goals per category. They have to be SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Third, break them down weekly. Every Sunday, I map out the small steps I'll take that week. And 4, review and adjust. At the end of the week, I check in. Did I move closer? If not, why? What do I need to tweak? Here's the magic. If you follow this, you don't need resolutions. You just need to live intentionally week by week. Because when you hit week 13, you look back and realize you've made more progress in 3 months than most people make in a year of chasing resolutions. For a while, I used to post my quarterly goals on the wall in my office. It was a little embarrassing. My wife would give me weird looks when she walked in, but having them up there gave me a sense of accountability. Every time I sat at my desk, I couldn't escape what I said I wanted. I had to look at it. I had to confront it. And even though I don't post them on the wall anymore, I still keep them where I can see them, because intentional living isn't about hiding your goals. It's about putting them where they can guide your daily choices. Let's circle back to external pressure, because this is where so many people get trapped in the failure cycle. Here's how it usually goes. First, January hype. You feel inspired by everyone posting resolutions. Second, you go too big. You commit to something that doesn't match your current habits. 3, you stumble. You miss a day, or you break the rule. 4, shame kicks in. You feel like a failure. And 5th, you quit. And then when the next January comes around, you remember that shame. You think, why try again? I'll just fail. That's the cycle, and it keeps us stuck. Breaking that cycle starts with rejecting the external pressure. Stop asking, what's my resolution this year? Start asking, what intentional choices align with my values right now? Sometimes we even copy other people's goals because they sound impressive. I've seen people sign up for 100 push-ups a day challenges who couldn't do 5 push-ups to start with. I've seen people vow to read 100 books in a year when they hadn't finished 1 book in the last 2. I've seen people jump into fad diets or no spend months, not because they cared about the result, but because they saw someone else doing it on Instagram. Copying someone else's goal almost always leads to burnout. Why? Because their why isn't yours. So what does intentional living look like in practice? It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not new year, new me. It's small, consistent choices rooted in identity. Instead of, I'll lose 20 pounds, you say, I'm the kind of person who takes care of my body. Instead of, I'll save $10,000, you say, I'm the kind of person who manages my money wisely. Instead of, I'll read 100 books, you say, I'm the kind of person who learns something every day. It's not about achieving perfection overnight. It's about becoming someone different over time. Here's a big reason I don't believe in resolutions. They skip the process. Think about lottery winners. Most people who win the lottery are broke within a few years. Why? Because they never became the kind of person who knows how to manage money. They just got the result without the process. The same happens with professional athletes who get rich fast and then lose it all, or with viral stars who blow up and then crash. If you get the result without becoming the kind of person who sustains it, it won't last. Intentional living is about becoming. Resolutions are about having. And becoming always outlasts having. A few years back, I decided I want to be more present with my kids. I could have made a resolution like, I'll play with my kids for an hour every day, but I knew I'd fail at that because life doesn't always allow for perfect schedules. Instead, I reframed it. I said, I want to be the kind of dad who notices opportunities to connect and takes them. Sometimes that's a 5-minute Lego session. Some days it's a full evening at the park. Some days it's just listening intently to a story about Roblox. That wasn't a resolution. That was an intentional identity choice, and it changed my relationship with my kids. Journal prompt number 2. Pause with me here again. What's one area of your life where you've been chasing a resolution or beating yourself up for not following through? Now reframe it. Don't think about the outcome. Think about the identity. Instead of, I'll run a marathon, try, I want to be the kind of person who enjoys moving my body. Instead of, I'll never eat sugar, try, I want to be the kind of person who makes mindful food choices. Write that down or say it out loud. That small shift can unlock everything. Here's the beautiful thing about intentional living. Small wins matter. When you set a resolution and miss it, you feel like a failure. When you live intentionally and take one small step, you feel momentum. And momentum is everything. One intentional choice leads to another. One small win builds confidence. And pretty soon you're looking back, realizing you've become the kind of person you wanted to be. Not by magic, not by hype, but by small, consistent steps. If I had to boil down intentional living into 2 sentences, it's this. Don't fight for opportunities you don't actually want. Don't chase someone else's dream, but become the kind of person who creates the life you want. That's it. That's the heart of why resolutions fail and why intentional living works. Let me take a moment to speak directly to you, the listener. If you're in your late 20s, 30s, or even 40s, if you've got kids at home and a career that sometimes feels like it's draining the life out of you, if you've caught yourself chasing other people's dreams and feeling burnt out, this is for you. You're not too late. You're not stuck. You don't have to wait until next January for a reset. You just need to take one intentional step today, and then another tomorrow, and then another the day after that. So here's my invitation. Stop making resolutions. Start making intentional choices. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about never messing up. Don't worry about getting everything right the first time. Just ask, what's the next right step I can take today? Take that step, and then another. That's how you change your life. Resolutions fail because they're vague, overwhelming, and rooted in absolutes. Intentional living works because it's identity-based, flexible, and sustainable. You don't need to see 20 steps down the road. You just need to know the next right step and take it. So let's stop waiting for the hype of January. Let's stop setting ourselves up for shame and disappointment. Let's stop chasing goals that don't even belong to us. Instead, let's choose intentional living, quarter by quarter, week by week, choice by choice. And over time, those small choices will add up to the life you've always wanted. That's it for this week. Thanks for being here with me. Let's keep walking this journey together. Thanks for listening to Clear Enough. If today's episode connected with you, share it with a friend or leave a review. And remember, you don't need to know everything. You just need to be clear enough to take the next right step.